Hello, Collective. It's Ron over here at Becoming Enlightened Together. We're at it again. This time we're going to do a tarot card reading for today. And what it seems to be talking about is basically what's going on in the head and life of someone who is actually in the Emperor energy. Okay? Now, this is the heart of the reading, and the Emperor is basically someone who is a father figure, somebody who's very powerful, a CEO, somebody who's stable, protective, he puts down the law, if you will. He's strong and authoritative. So that's the kind of energy that we're looking at here. So if you're embodying the Emperor energy, what the bottom of the deck is telling us is that you're having some issues. Okay, so you're feeling trapped, basically hopeless, cornered, stuck in a rut. You're fearful and powerless. You feel restricted and confused, facing a bunch of obstacles. You're feeling persecuted, feeling at a loss, lacking direction, needing guidance and clarity. Now, we've all been there, but this is somebody who is supposedly in the Emperor energy. And the Emperor basically is someone who embodies all the positive traits, attributes, and characteristics of all four kings in the tarot deck, and all four elements. So, being that this is I didn't even tell you, this is Eight of Swords. I'm sorry. I'm kind of out of it still. Eight of Swords. And that's at the bottom of the deck. So that gives us more or less a picture of what this whole reading is about. The heart of the matter being the Emperor, and the bottom of the deck being the Eight of Swords. So there's conflict. There is, there's just a lot that this Emperor has got to think about and is trying to find their way. I'll just leave it at that. They're just trying to find their way. So they got to figure things out. So let's go ahead and look at that. Let's go ahead and start off by looking at the spiritual aspect. Now, the spiritual are those forces, and of course it'll be different for each and every one of you out there. What you believe are those hidden forces that propel us, whether it's the Jungian, psychological aspect of that, or if it's an actual spiritual element. Not to say he didn't have spiritual connotations attached to his work. He did, but the point is that not everybody believes in spirit, God, the universe, source, or whatever. So if that is you, even though it's hard for me to understand why you would be looking at something like this if you were, a self-professed atheist, which, by the definition of what that means, you profess to have all the known information because you've assessed that there is no God, and you must have all the facts, more or less, to make such a bold claim. Of course, none of us have all the facts. We can search our entire life daily and still fall very short of all that is available in terms of information, because the world itself has sought to keep a lot of truths from the collective, from the majority of people. Some of it has been deliberately destroyed. Some of it has been hoarded into the hands of very elite families. Some is hidden within the pages of most of the world's religious dogma. Others within the esoteric or even the occultic world. So the truths are spread out throughout the entire plane of existence and knowledge that we can find. And unless you are one of those people who is looking into all those different areas, you're never really going to find it. So, back to what I was saying, we're looking at the spiritual plane, those powers that propel us forward. We start off with again, Six of Swords. The Six of Swords talks about somebody who wants to move into a calmer, place, if you will. Somebody who's traveling abroad, wants to go to a new environment, or somebody who's trying to overcome their hardships and find some stable ground, if you will. Somebody who's currently, in the middle of having the blues, recovery, sad, just barely trying to keep their head above the water, feeling a little listless. All these types of traits and attributes are basically what's stirring within our spiritual, thinking and so on, and that's further exemplified here with, the Hermit card. This is a major arcana card, and again, anytime you see major arcana, you have to take a little bit closer look or listen a little bit, more intently. But this is somebody who's taking advice from someone wiser than themselves. Somebody who's wise, somebody who can consult, has experience in doing so, somebody who's illuminated, perhaps somebody who is actually going into solitude, and again, that can be the Emperor that we saw earlier. They're basically the ones seeking advice, as we've already seen on the other cards so far. So they're looking for some understanding of why things are happening in the way that they are, or at least this is what they are being propelled to do. Their ancestors, source, or whatever is trying to push them to do just that. And we finally see this because this is what they want. They want their 10 of Cups. They want their happiness. They want their joy and fulfillment. They want La Familia. They want their luck, success, and their health. They want all of these things. And the angels, the ancestors, source, your extraterrestrial brethren, whatever it is that you believe in, they're trying to encourage you to start inquiring, as to the answers that you seek right now, okay? Alright, now in the earthly plane, we start off with the moon card. Now, the moon, opposite the sun, talks about obscurity, talks about, things that are hidden generally, fears, illusions, the unknown, dreams. It can also talk about a person's intuition. It can also talk about phobias and deceptions, imagination running wild at times, sense of bewilderment, the shadow side of things, feeling anxious, even self-deception. So confusion, unrealistic ideals about something, that's what's happening in the earthly plane, which explains why we saw what we saw within the spiritual line of information. And again, next up on the earthly plane is the heart of the reading, which of course is the Emperor himself. And again, this is somebody who is a father figure, a CEO, somebody who's very powerful and dominant otherwise. So this Emperor is going through a little bit of a dark night of the soul himself right now. And it doesn't matter what level of spiritual, growth that we have achieved, whether you are one of the many kings in the tarot deck, for example, or you're all four of them, as in this case, and embodying the Emperor, or again, you can just be a father figure too. But what that means is that, we're all growing. We never stop growing. So we see that echoed here with the Five of Cups. Now, the Five of Cups talks about, the Three of Pentacles. What am I talking about? Please forgive me. The Three of Pentacles is somebody who's looking at some new skill sets, or, expanding their knowledge base, getting education and mastery of something, learning something new, having, a sense of dedication to a team or a job or an effort, teamwork, in other words. Somebody who's working along, again, with a group of people in an organization, somebody prepared, somebody who's cooperative, somebody who's helping them to meet their goals or meeting their own goals. and somebody who knows what to do. Again, that's what's happening in the earthly plane, and of course that's exactly the kind of um, attributes we would expect to come from the emperor himself. Okay, those are exactly the traits that he embodies typically. Now, finally, in the subconscious plane, and those are our dreams, our thoughts, our inspirations, those secret things that are going on in our head, if you will. Okay, we start off with the Two of Swords. Now, the Two of Swords talks about having choices, hard decisions that we have to make. Somebody who's possibly blinded to the truth, somebody who might be caught in the middle of something, somebody basically just trying to understand things, somebody who's avoidant, at times divided in thought, somebody who's become stagnant, their wheels are spinning, so to speak, somebody with a closed heart. So, and again, since this is a general reading and everything else, I give you all the different possible characteristics, traits, and attributes of each of these cards, as well as, where they sit in alignment in terms of, what that line represents, so that you can determine what actually, either does or does not resonate with you specifically. Because I'm talking to a lot of different people, a lot of different stories, but, the energy is basically still the energy. So we're all on different timelines as well. All right, next up in the subconscious plane, we have the Ace of Swords. We have a lot of swords in this reading, okay? And that's all about intellect and thought and things of that nature, okay? This talks about new beginnings. This talks about mental clarity, talks about being focused, seeing your visions, making the proper choices, finding truth, being successful, positive, intelligent, reasonable, just. It talks about a lot of very positive attributes. Anytime you see an ace, it's the beginning of something, or something new, if you will. Okay. Also in the subconscious plane, we have the Five of Swords. We're fighting with ourselves in our minds, it looks like. Back and forth. This one's talking about feeling defeated again. Arguments, stressed, violence even. Talks about looking after your own self-interest, you're self-focused, basically being self-centered at this time. And, by itself, that is not a bad thing. Okay, we all need to basically be the change that we want to see in the world, which only comes with going within, that inner focus. And sometimes taking time out, for a woman going to the spa, for a man going to the gym, or, for me going shooting the range or shoot your bow, or, or just punching the hell out of a bag, whatever the case may be, blow off some steam, work out that stress, and get that clarity that you seek, or just taking time to meditate, fasting and, prayer as well as meditation. These are all things centered around self-improvement. And, a lot of times we get our clarity in those moments. Find a place of solitude and peace, or produce your own peace. If you had a family, and, I had 4 kids, and it was hard to find any real peace without something needing to be addressed almost always. And, that on top of working full time to take care of the kids, as I raised them by myself. So it wasn't easy, but if I can do it, certainly you can find a way of doing it as well. That's what I'm trying to get at. And this is not me comparing my life or what I did and didn't do, compared to you. It's just to encourage you is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say I'm holier than thou or better than anybody or anything like that. I'm just saying that these things can be done when applied. You got to just put the effort forward is really what it gets down to. We're seeing that the Emperor is doing a lot of thinking right now, but so far it hasn't shown me, a whole lot in terms of actual efforts being applied to that. Now let's go ahead and look at past, present, and future. Now, with the past, again, we have that 6 of Swords. are basically moving into a state of calm, traveling, new environment being desired, overcoming something, overcoming a hardship, trying to find stability, okay? Picking up the pieces kind of a thing. So the Emperor had really been going through it, and again, because next up we have the Moon card, another major arcana card, talks about obscurity and things which are hidden, fear and things of that nature. We see that, you know, as always in this world, there are times when we have to go within, because our answers are not going to be found out there, and we're not going to have some kind of guru come to us and really take us by the hand and lead us out of our plight. Sometimes we put ourselves in those particular situations or positions, and it's really up to us to find our way back out in that regard. And this is why also during the past we had this indecisive energy that we got with the Two of Swords. You know, having a lot of choices to make, hard choices, caught in the middle some way, your emotions feeling blocked, and pretending that everything is okay, but being avoidant, and you don't want anybody else to know what you're going through, apparently. That's what this is telling me. It's telling me that this Emperor, as they're trying to work things out, is trying to put on their game face on the outside, but they're cracking. There's cracks that are emerging. People are starting to see through them. Alright, now the present energy, we have the Hermit card. And again, this is somebody who's going within. Somebody who's looking for advice, looking for wisdom, looking for some type of illumination concerning their situation. So introspection, solitude, all of these things are very important in the very present for the Emperor to figure out how to get out of the situation that he is currently. And when I say he, it doesn't have to be a man. It's just somebody who embodies the masculine aspect of the four kings we're talking about, that, you know, make the Emperor, if you will. So the Emperor in the present has the benefit of his new beginnings. The mental clarity is coming, or will come. Your visions will be, you know, found, experienced. You will see them clearly, choices, finding your truth, in other words. You're going to have success. You're going to find the positivity that you seek. Your intelligence and your reason are going to help see you through all of this. And this is the present energy. Now, for the future, we have the benefit of seeing what most of us desire in this world. And that is, you know, hope and happiness with the Ten of Cups. And of course, that all your emotions being filled up is what this represents. So everything that makes you feel good, happy, joyful, content, that's what this card represents. And that's what is the first card in your future. So hang in there, Emperor, because it's coming. Okay. Alright, and then next up we have the Three of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles shows us basically knowledge, new skills, and education, the mastery of something, dedication, and hard work, teamwork, you know, working together as a team. All of these things are part of your future plan in order to get that Ten of Cups that you're after. But we have the Five of Swords also, and again, a lot of mental back and forth going on here. So again, we're still feeling defeated in the future. We're going to have arguments, stress, some violence potentially, self-interest we're looking after. We're going to be self-focused, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Okay. Sometimes we can be a little selfish in this energy, though, so we have to be very aware of that. Somebody who's wanting to make a power play, somebody who feels like it's me against the world kind of a thing. or somebody even who might be involved in some criminal activity. So the way I see this is this. This emperor who is very strongly desiring this Ten of Cups could go either way at this point, and may have already done so from what I'm seeing in the past energy and so on. You know, especially with the Moon card there, and you know, trying to get away with the Six of Swords. It looks like criminal activity is not out of the sphere of possibility to try to achieve this Ten of Cups. So, and again, karma will always find you. You cannot outrun it. You cannot hide from it. And you're only going to get away with things for so long. I mean, Source, Spirit, your guides, Most High, God, whatever it is you believe in, He seems to always give us quite a bit of rope so that we can learn from our mistakes and correct ourselves. But if we choose not to do so, that's where karma comes in. If we are adamantly opposed to the learning process, to accepting the error of our ways and then correcting it, then the universe will do it for us. And again, it's a universal law. You don't have to believe in it. It believes in you. So you will find it to be true at some point in your life. And then you're going to be forced to sit down and take a long, hard look at your decisions and your life and the reality, the truth of why you're there. You can't point the finger at anybody else. And even if you do, just keep in mind there's 3 other fingers pointing back at you, you know? Right? 3 fingers pointing back at you. So that's where the blame actually is, you know. Just look in the mirror. And again, this is not me trying to pick on anybody. This is me seeing reality for what it is, as I have done that many times. It's easy to blame society, the world, and certainly there are things that are wrong with, you know, this world and society. You got a government that extorts you, lies to you, slowly is trying to kill you, and yet, you know, the majority of people continually fight over which side of that aisle they're going to have rule over them for the next 4 years, in a land where they constantly talk about being the freest in the world. Well, I'll just leave it at that and let you ponder, you know, the hypocrisy, you know, of those 2 statements. Rule yourself, okay? That's what anarchy is, basically. Anarchy is not basically going out there with your Molotov cocktails and burning the place down. It's basically saying you don't need anybody else to rule over you. You rule over yourself. It could be something as simple as planting a garden instead of running to the, you know, the grocery store every week and getting a bunch of genetically modified friggin', you know, goods to put into your body, you know, to slowly tear away at your God-given perfection. I mean, your body is capable of handling so many things, and it's marvelously, you know, made, and yet everything in our society today is slowly tearing away at it. I mean, just look at what's going on in the world, medically speaking, as well as politically speaking, economically speaking. I mean, you can go down the gamut of things and you're going to find the same type of nastiness, you know, negative energy, because it's being controlled, monitored, and implemented by forces that do not have your interests, best interests, I should say, at heart at all. In fact, most of them don't even have a heart. They're completely heartless, no empathy at all. Soulless beings, if you will. The same ones that, if you're familiar with the Matrix analogy or whatever, the Agent Smiths can jump easily in and out of. That's the majority, unfortunately, of the people that are around us. the lady in the red dress analogy from I think it was the first Matrix movie. That movie is, I mean, it's genius in a lot of ways, how they implemented so many concepts that we find both in Gnostic beliefs, esoteric and occult beliefs, as well as, most of the, well, especially the indigenous, but world belief systems scientifically, and put it into a form of entertainment. It's very well done in my opinion. But again, I digress. I know that we're rambling. I'm rambling. So I do have one more piece of information. This piece of information is basically expanding upon this reading, and this will be the 9th and last piece of information that I share with this 9-card reading. Okay, so let's look at that, and we start off with the Hermit. Again, somebody who's going within, somebody who is in solitude right now, seeking wisdom, either from another or hopefully going within and seeking it, and finding it there, as most of the philosophers, from the ancient to the modern, have echoed to us. They say that, our wisdom is never found out there somewhere. It's always within. And I know it's a difficult concept to wrap your head around if this is something new to you. And I find myself having a difficult time every so often, with believing in myself and in truly having and finding that information within. But I, through experience, have found that more often than not, that's proven to me to be true. I've gotten myself out of many sticky situations and everything else, not by asking or inquiring or, going without. Not to say that that's wrong, but most of the wisdom that you're going to find, the true wisdom, comes from the authentic side of yourself, the real you, your higher self, if you will, if you're capable of hearing those words. Now, also in this diamond, we find the Three of Pentacles again. And again, this is that person who is now in hermit mode, who's contemplating basically getting new skills, more higher education, more knowledge, and maybe working for a team to make their dreams come true. And we see that also echoed with the next part, or the southern part of this diamond, which is the New Beginnings card, the Ace of Swords. Somebody who's gaining that mental clarity, focus, vision, and so on, finding their truth and getting their new beginnings successfully. But again, because we're constantly fighting in our own heads, standing in our own way, what we have here at the end of this diamond, on the western side of it, is the moon. And the moon means obscurity. We're still not seeing clearly the things that we're looking for. Okay? We're still looking. Things are starting to be made clearer for us, but they are not tangible yet. They're not crystal clear for us. But that is a very positive, final outcome. And that you're going within, which is a good place to start. And you realize that you are fighting yourself in your own heart, in your own mind. You are being propelled forward, but you're fighting it. Fears, insecurities, things of that nature, and as well as the many other things that you're probably being forced to deal with right now. Because that seems to be clear here as well. There are things going on in your life, and you're trying to find answers and a solution to them. You're trying to find your way out, so to speak. But even though the moon was the last card that we pulled in this particular reading, all that is telling me is that you're still thinking, you're still dreaming, and you need to use your intuition, because that's also what the moon card means. And learn how to trust your intuition. Again, that takes practice. no matter how far along, like I've said, we are in our spiritual journey, we still have to be reminded of these things from time to time, and we still have to prove these things to ourselves from time to time. It's easy to say this, but we want to slip back into the things that we're comfortable with, or the things that we have been taught throughout the majority of our lifetime. And the thing about spirituality that you learn once you really crash through this matrix barrier, at least the first couple of barriers, is that you have to unlearn almost everything that you were taught to learn truth. You have to be open to learning new things, because the things that the system itself has taught you from your earliest childhood all the way through your adult, years, assuming that you don't seek these truths on your own, are largely lies, deceptions, ways of keeping you tied to the matrix and not, allowing you to find your way, if you will, out of the matrix. Again, using that metaphor, just like Neo did, inevitably. I mean, it took him, 4 or 5 movies to finally do it, I think, or something like that. I don't know, but, I guess he finally did. So, yeah, there's a lot more to this reality, so-called, than most people have really, ever really, truly come to a understanding of, a real understanding of the complexities and the levels involved in our so-called reality. So, anyway, I know that I talk too much sometimes, and I apologize. I'm just trying to make a point, and sometimes I feel I'm not really doing a good job at it. I mean, it makes sense to me in my mind, but, since I don't have any feedback immediately, I don't know if I'm making it clear to you out there. So, with that being said, as always, I always wish you guys the very best, just as I wish it for myself. And stay victorious, and a long way down the line, we'll all meet again in Valhalla. Until then, take care. God bless.